Good morning and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. This is your business diva and host, Melanie Collette. You are listening to us live via the Exceptional Conservative Network and SHR Media. Welcome. Happy Wednesday to you. I am very happy to be here on Wednesday morning. I'm awfully chipper. Oh, you know why? I already had my coffee. I already had my first cup of coffee. That's why I'm like, why am I so cheery? And I'm not usually quite this up and cheery this early. I'm usually struggling a little bit. That's because I already got my my notably giant cup of coffee, which some people have commented on. If you're watching me live on Ustream, you can see my giant cup of coffee that I generally have with me every morning, and I'm usually just starting it, but this morning was the type of morning where I literally rolled out of bed and headed straight for the kitchen because I couldn't wait for the show to have coffee this morning. But anywho, so I'm a little amped. So beware that I'm a little amped this morning. But anyhow, before we talk to our guest today, joining us this morning is Dave Ray, who is the communications director for the Federation of Immigration Reform. And we're going to discuss the cost of illegal immigration with him this morning. And the costs are steep, I will tell you. And so there's many different categories that that comes into that goes into. I mean, we're talking employment, education, educating undocumented children, which I'm a former public school teacher, so I can certainly attest to that. So we're going to talk about the varying costs to the American people, and of course, there's some debate about that because there are people who argue that the contributions, so to speak, outweigh what the costs are. I don't know that I agree with that. So we're going to talk to Dave Ray about that, and we're going to talk to him also about what the Federation for American Immigration Reform does as well. But before we get into that, a bit of housekeeping. If you would like to follow me on Twitter or you would like to tweet me, you may do so at MoneyTalkMel. Or like my Facebook page at Money Talk with Melanie. Now, if you follow me on Twitter or like my Facebook page, you will find out in advance who my guests are, what we're going to talk about, and also if you missed the show right after the show is done, I always post the podcast of the show right there. That's always the case. So you will have immediate access to the podcast right there. You can always look for the podcast right there on my Facebook page, or I usually tweet it out. There are other places you can find it. You can also find it on Spreaker. You can find it on Pinterest, YouTube, tons of places where you're able to find the podcast. iTunes, Google Play. No excuse to miss Money Talk with Melanie is the bottom line. So I will not allow it. Oh, so I told you I was amped today. a little bit, tiny bit amped today. So if you follow me on Twitter or like my Facebook page, you'll get access to all of that. Plus, I also you'll usually post some timely financial news and things like that on each of those social media areas. If you would like to email me, you want to tell me you don't like my blouse today, or you think I'm wearing too much makeup, or something dumb. I mean, I'll probably ignore that. No, I'm kidding. But if you'd like to email me, give me a show idea or something like that, or ask me a question, you may do so at moneytalkwithmelanie@gmail.com. We've started a new segment called Personal Finance. Wait a minute. 5 minutes of personal finance. There it is. 5 minutes of personal finance at the end of every show. So if you have a question that you would like answered during that segment, Emailing me at moneytalkwithmelanie@gmail.com is the perfect place to send that question. So, or you can certainly do it by tweeting me or posting it on my Facebook page. I'm happy to accept it anywhere. Also, finally, if you would like to join one of the join the esteemed list of guests that I've had on my show, such as former Senator of Colorado Ted Harvey, or Colonel Rob Maness, or Ebony Williams from Fox News, or Dr. Brooks Robinson, who is the official economist of the Exceptional Conservative Network, and he also has blackeconomics.org. You may do so by going to theexceptionalconservativeshow.com and clicking on Contact Us, sending us your information. We'd be happy to review it, or you can give us a call at 202-660-1329. We'd love to have you on the show if you are an expert in your financial field. We love to talk to you. You're a CEO, you're an entrepreneur. Talk to us. We'd love to have you on the show. So, what is going on in the news? Well, Prime Minister Theresa May said she's going to move the parliamentary election up by merely 3 years. You talk about different, like, we could never get away with that because, Constitution. here in the United States, we don't do stuff like that. But they can do that over there. It's called a snap election, and that means that the prime minister can call an election anytime they darn well please. So she's gonna move it up. So instead of it being in 2020, it's gonna be in June. Why is she doing this? Well, because she starts Brexit negotiations, right? And she wants to have everything. She wants to have a fair amount of support. And right now, her party has support, but not like a whole lot of support. It's not like gangbusters. So, also she has to have the British Parliament's approval, and it would be helpful to have the backing of the people. So actually, it's a smart political move for her. If you can do it, right? You would never be able to do that over here, but you can do that over in Britain. So, as it stands now, her party's leading in the polls. So it would be a lot easier for her to go into the talks if she has her people standing behind her. So, smart move. In Georgia, I don't want to say like, oh, we almost lost, because, almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. You know what I'm saying? So there was a special election in Georgia, and the Democrats ran this 30-year-old John Ossoff. Yeah, and they really thought they were going to win. That's so sad. But I have this to say, na 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 na. I know. I'm sorry, but we won. Although I will say this, Republicans, like, what's up with the 11 candidates? Really? What are we doing? Like, why can't we just get behind one candidate? Like, that was really risky, and I'm kind of sick of us doing that. We need to stop with that foolishness. So now there's going to be a runoff, but he would have had to get over 50% of the vote in order to win. Fortunately, he did not, and it looks like somebody from the GOP. It doesn't look like it. It's a fact. Somebody from the GOP will win that seat. So it will continue to be a Republican seat, thank goodness, there in Georgia. Finally, and, I almost didn't do this story because, I really like Bill O'Reilly. I mean, but apparently his job is on the line again because he's been accused of sexual harassment again. 5 women have come forward, and apparently he paid them off to the tune of $13 million to keep them quiet about the allegations. And apparently the bigwigs at Fox are meeting to decide whether or not he's going to stay or go. Stop it. They're going to keep him. Come on now. It's Bill. He's a big dog. And I'm not, look, most women, I think, have been sexually harassed. I certainly have been before. Not. I mean, I don't know how serious the allegations were, but I don't know. Depending on how serious, I think a couple meal might cure it. No, I'm kidding. I shouldn't be joking about sexual harassment. but, but, um, look, I, I, Bill, behave yourself. Can you just behave yourself, please? Anyhow, so I hate to report that because I really like him, and I just if the allegations are true, I just really wish he would behave himself and stop spending money on settling lawsuits. Ridiculous. Anyway, when we get back on the other side of the break, we're going to be talking to Dave Ray from FAIR. And we'll be back on the other side of the break. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Hello, this is Leslie Ann Stoffel with The Real Clear Israel. Join me every Sunday morning at 10:05 Eastern Time on the Exceptional Conservative Network, where we'll be discussing Israel with guests from Israel and around the world.
That's The Real Clear Israel, 10:05 Sunday on the Exceptional Conservative Network.
Dave Ray.
Hey, Dave.
Good morning.
Sorry about that. I had to hang up because I was getting like feedback.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Okay, folks, that's not how it goes. I think I'm Shannon, and you're Michael.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had when you had
the
me
right
on
way
hold,
with Shannon and Mike.
I was getting.
Join us from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time.
So.
Live on SHR Media.
Well, I'm glad you hung up then.
Yeah, but
where we'll be
now I'm
talking
running
about all
commercials,
kinds of
and
things.
I just have it on
Sports
mute.
and politics.
So
The food
the only
and
place that this is
entertainment,
being heard is
money,
on
family,
the Ustream
and anything
side,
else
but
in
not on the
between.
speaker side.
community,
But
holidays.
Okay.
so we're
It'll
on
be great.
commercial,
Join us from
and
7 to 9
we're
a.m.
gonna be back
Eastern
in like
Time.
a minute.
Great. And then how long is the interview?
About a half
Human
hour,
by race,
maybe
Christian
20
by
minutes.
faith,
Till
American by
10:45.
nationality, conservative
All right, thank
by
you.
choice.
All right, cool. Thank you.
It's Reverend Ralph Chittum's The Right Guy on the Exceptional Conservative Network from 4:05 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. The Right Guy on TECN.
From the war front to the streets of our nation's capital, men of faith, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor, and Kenneth McClinton, the exceptional conservative, bring both constitutional gravitas and spiritual perspective on today's issues to the most influential Christian urban talk show, 9:05 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays. It's a new day on New Day, Black and Red.
Hi, my name is Willie Lawson of The Willie Lawson Show here on the Exceptional Conservative Network, Monday through Fridays, 9 a.m. They told me that I needed to be humble, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I decided to be awesome instead. That's The Willie Lawson Show, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. here on the Exceptional Conservative Network.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe, Hook Reaver, Common Sense. You can catch me every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on shrmedia.com. That's every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, shrmedia.com.
Okay, we are back. You are listening to Money Talk with Melanie. This is your business diva, Melanie Collette. And I am happy to say that we have joining us this morning Mr. Dave Ray, who is the communications director for the Federation for American Immigration Reform. And we're going to discuss with him the cost of illegal immigration this morning. How are you, Mr. Ray?
Doing quite well. How about you, Melanie?
I am awesome this morning. I was explaining to my audience during the open that usually I am just starting my cup of coffee when the show starts, but I'm already one cup in. So I'm a tad bit so I'm a tad bit amped already.
Yeah, sounds like I'm in trouble here. Then if you're already ginned up and ready to go,
I'm a little bit hyped this morning, just a tad bit. I'm so happy to have you on the show this morning. Could you please do me the favor of telling our audience, giving the audience a little bit of your background, and also explaining to the audience what the Federation for American Immigration Reform does, or FAIR. So first your background in it, and then about FAIR.
Well, my name is Dave Ray. I'm the Director of Communications for FAIR. I'm originally from the Midwest. Was actually an agriculture economics major at Ohio State, and then came to D.C. and got all caught up in the political world, and attained my master's degree in communication at Night, and have spent my entire career really in public relations. I started working for FAIR about a year ago. Like I said, I'm the Director of Communications. FAIR is Federation for American Immigration Reform. Yes, it's a mouthful, but we are a group of about 1.3 million citizens and members and contributors across the country, working to stop illegal immigration and reform America's legal immigration system in the national interest. Like I said, we've been around for about 40 years now. We've been very involved in pushing forth ideas. We're kind of an immigration reform idea factory. Push forth ideas on how to better secure the nation, how to put together immigration laws that ensure that the people who we want to let in can get in and can stay in, and that the people who we don't want to get in can't get in, and the ones who come here and misbehave are sent home in due time before they do any harm to any Americans. And we're just thrilled to be able to have the chance today to chat with your viewers. With your listeners.
I am very happy to have you here. There's a lot of, now I want to make sure that we're clear about this. Your organization is not against legal immigration. Am I correct?
You are correct. We have a lot of thoughts on legal immigration. I mean, just a quick background. Legal immigration has ballooned over the last 30 years. Our historic average is about 300,000 people a year. We're currently at about 1.1 million legal immigrants that we're taking into the United States every year. Most of those immigrants are not selected based on any specific achievement or skill set or level of education, but simply because they have a relative here, sometimes a distant relative. So we would like to reform America's immigration policies. We would like to have a better mix between merit-based immigration so that we're actually selecting immigrants who have shown that they have skills to contribute to the country, so that once they get here they can achieve, because clearly we want everyone to be able to achieve the American dream, but we would also like to see a return of immigration levels back to more historic levels. We've advocated levels around 300,000 a year, which, as I said, is our historic average, but current bills in Congress, particularly one backed by President Trump, would put that cap at about 550,000 a year. So by no stretch of the imagination are we against legal immigration. We're for sensible immigration levels.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, and this is no different, and this is one of the things that I want to point out to our audience is that this is no different than any other country on the planet. In fact, the reforms that you're looking for are still much looser than any other country. If you look, for example, just at Canada, for example, and at the restrictions that they have on their immigration laws, they're very strict on who they allow in their country.
Oh, exactly. You know, what we're looking at, one thing that Canada and Australia have both done, and the only reason I bring those two up is that they're the other two major immigration receiving countries, although nobody comes close to the United States in numbers, but they've both shifted their paradigm to a more merit-based and skill-based selection process. You know, by doing that, what you ensure is that the people you're selecting have the skills that it takes to succeed in a modern-day America. I mean, people who are coming here are stepping into a very developed, advanced, high-tech society, so obviously the ability to read, the ability to speak English, the high math levels, technological skills. These are all very important precursors to the success of the immigrant once they get here. Unfortunately, none of this is really taken into consideration for most of the immigrants who come in here because they're simply selected because they have a family member who's already here. So there's a bill that was put forth by Senator Tom Cotton and co-sponsored by Georgia Senator Perdue called the RAISE Act, and this was largely embraced by President Trump, who's also tweaking it a little bit. But what that bill would do would be to reduce some of the extended chain migration and make a more fair, equal mix between merit-based immigration and family-based immigration. So if you're selected as an immigrant, you would come to the United States bringing your spouse and minor children. That would be it. Your brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, anybody else who in your family who wanted to come would have to enter based on their own merit. They couldn't use their bloodline to get in here. So you would come in with your nuclear family, but you would have been selected based on having skills that were going to be a fair precursor to a fair criteria for judging whether or not you're going to be able to make it in today's society. Unfortunately, we have a very high immigrant welfare rate. Immigrants aren't doing well by and large in the U.S. They're having quite a lot of struggles making it in this economy, and it's primarily due to the fact that we're not, by and large, selecting a lot of the right people.
Okay, exactly. And now, I guess my next question is this about racism? Because one of the accusations, and I think you've addressed it, but I just want to make sure that this is emphasized, because one of the accusations that comes along with this, and I've actually been accused of this. I don't know if you've seen my picture in any of the promos, but I'm a brown person, and I've actually been accused, literally been accused of not liking brown people, straight out of someone's mouth. Said, I think you don't like brown people, and I'm like, are you looking? You're looking. You're looking at me, right? Like, and this was a face-to-face conversation.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's that's not that unusual. I've come to the conclusion that when people run out of arguments, they resort to name calling, and that's really all the other side has left in the immigration debate. Anybody with half a brain can look at this and tell our immigration policies don't make sense. I mean, we are no longer a vast open frontier that needs to be populated. We are a country of 320 million people that has a very high-tech economy. We have a huge number of Americans who've been displaced and have all completely left the workforce, largely due to mass immigration. The immigration policies that are being considered before Congress treat everyone equally. They don't favor one group over the other. They don't discriminate for or against by race. The type of criteria that they're looking for, whether it would be, English abilities, high school education, limited college degree, technical skills, what have you. These are these are all assets and abilities that you'll find on every continent on the planet. So the entire swath of the world's population would be able to fairly compete for visas to come to the United States. I mean, the other point is anybody who thinks that we're trying to reform immigration policies to favor Europeans. The fact is, Europeans don't really want to come here.
No.
The immigration from Europe is not in high demand. Europe is most Europeans are quite happy remaining in Europe. So that's not the issue. The issue is trying to put together a non-discriminatory immigration policy that selects people based on merit and lets those who come in bring their nuclear families so that the nuclear family can stay intact.
And that makes a ton of sense to me, from a business perspective. And from.
But if you don't have any arguments against it, you could just call the person a racist, and then everything that comes out of their mouth after that point is questioned, and their motivations are questioned. And unfortunately, immigration, unlike other public policies, can't be scrutinized fairly without name calling. For example, you and I could sit here and we could take U.S. education policy, just rake it over the coals and pick apart the way education is handled and how the ABCs are done and math teachers and this and that, and nobody would accuse us of hating teachers or hating students. You try that same thing with U.S. immigration policy, and people are throwing out the R word within the first 2 minutes of the conversation and accusing you of, being a hate monger and so on. This is a public policy. Immigration policy is a public policy. It must be scrutinized. It must be able to stand up to the same scrutiny that our other public policies like education, health care, and so on are analyzed under.
And that makes a ton of sense. Now, I want to move on to talking about the financial impacts of illegal immigration. One of the things that that FAIR does is they do a fair amount of research. They do a fair amount of research on these things, so that so that the American people and others are informed about various impacts of immigration and illegal immigration. And and there's a study, I believe the last one was done in 2013, unless I missed a more recent one, but one of the studies that I saw noted that illegal immigration costs U.S. taxpayers about $113 billion a year at the federal, state, and local level. And at the
mostly at the local level.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
And one of the things that I keep impressing upon my audience when we talk about finances, particularly in the government, is that the federal government does not have to balance their budget, but your state and local governments absolutely do, and that makes a huge difference.
Right. Well, I mean, so just a few quick points off of that. First of all, let's talk about Trump's wall and the cost of it. People say, "Oh goodness, $15 to $30 billion to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border to staunch the flow of illegal immigrants." Isn't that an awful lot of money? Well, the cost of doing nothing is unacceptable. $113 billion a year. Where do we get to $113 billion? Think of it this way. A man and his wife and their 4 kids come in, and they're illegal immigrants picking strawberries in, Fresno, California, making below minimum wage and under the books, not paying into the system. Their 4 kids, however, are in Fresno schools. That's at between $12,000 and $14,000 per child, remembering that children with limited English end up in English language training as well, which makes them even more expensive. When they get sick, they end up in the emergency rooms. because they live below the poverty line. They qualify for all sorts of assistance, for food assistance and so on. Then any of their children born in the United States become U.S. citizens, and then they have an anchor to the country. What I'm trying to say here is, doing nothing on illegal immigration, which is what we did for 8 years under Obama, that was by far, the most costly option available. And by going out and finding the illegal immigrant population and sending them home will be a huge cost savings to this nation. It will restore the sense that government works. It will restore the rule of law to immigration policy, and it will also remove a heck of a lot of dangerous criminal aliens who are currently living amongst us.
Exactly. And as someone who taught in public schools, I can certainly attest to that. And I taught computer classes, which means it was a general class where they would do something called mainstreaming, which meant if the student spoke a different language, that we were expected to do something called differentiating instruction. So that we taught that student with pictures and things like that.
Right.
Yeah. I had 3 different.
Well, it's interesting. It's the proponents of open borders, tend to be kind of the wealthy liberals, and they love open mass immigration largely because they're shielded because of their wealth from the effects of the immigration policies that they force on the rest of us.
Sure.
Their kids aren't in public schools. They don't live in middle-class neighborhoods. I mean, when your child is in a public school that has a large illegal immigrant population, or even a large legal immigrant population, you have a lot of limited English-speaking students in any classroom, it is going to divert education resources away from your kid and put it towards those kids. What's that going to do in the long run when your kid has to compete against my kid who didn't go to a high immigration school to get into a college? My kid's probably going to be a few steps ahead of yours because they will have had the full attention of the teacher and not had resources kind of diluted, dealing with the large, limited English-speaking population. So, it's easy to advocate the greatness of mass immigration as long as you don't have to deal with the effects of it, and you can leave it to the middle and lower middle class to have to kind of deal with the real long-term effects of mass immigration.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, as someone who has actually had to deal with it, that you absolutely, as a teacher, are spending more time with those students than you are with the other students. There's just no way around it, no doubt about it. You are certainly doing that. And it's not fair to the other students in your class. It just isn't. And property taxes and local taxes are what tend to be paying for your education, and they tend not to be homeowners. So they're not contributing to education.
Right, and look what just happened in Montgomery County in the Rockville High School a couple months ago, where you had 2 illegal immigrants, one 18, one 19, who came into the United States under Obama's catch and release program. They're both from Central America. They were here illegally. They might have been even flown from the border to Maryland to join their illegal alien family members by U.S. taxpayers. That was a fairly large and extensive program under Obama, but they end up in class with a bunch of 9th graders. Okay, why are these 18-year-olds in the same class as 14-year-olds? Well, have they spent a large part of their life in jail? We don't know. They're illegal immigrants.
Right.
They didn't go through a background check.
Right.
We don't know anything about these kids, and now they've gang raped an innocent 14-year-old girl in the middle of broad daylight in school.
Yep.
So this is what happens. You know, we know better than to let strangers into our house. We should know better than to let strangers into our country. And unfortunately, this young girl who was gang raped at her high school is going to be dealing with the ramifications of failed immigration policies for the rest of her life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, that's part of the problem. And in many of the countries that these, children, men come from, have huge problems with the abuse of children.
Right.
You look at the
and
studies.
they think these two guys are MS-13 gang members.
Wonderful.
So on top, but of course, how would we know that? They didn't go through a background check. They came in illegally. We have no idea what their health status is. We have no idea what their criminal records are. We have no idea why they're 18-year-olds and testing to be in the 9th grade. I mean, it's just why we would be so naive as a nation to let in a group of people who we know nothing about. Several 100,000 of these unaccompanied minors came into the country under Obama, and then stick them in school with our kids. Now let me rephrase that. They're not in school with the Obama children, of course, but they were in school with everyone else's kids.
Right.
Why are we doing this? Insanity.
It's insanity. I agree. So, but before I let you go, I would love for you to tell the audience. I have to have you back on because we didn't get enough done.
Right.
But please tell the audience how to get in touch with you and how to get involved with FAIR if they possibly can. Go.
All right, well, this is a really exciting time in the immigration reform debate. I mean, things are happening. This is a great time to get involved. You can find us on the web at FAIRUS, that's FAIRUS.org. I would urge you to become a member. That would entitle you to a monthly newsletter that would keep you apprised of what's going on, and it would help give you a voice in the immigration reform debate. I mean, the way immigration is reformed is going to shape the future of the nation, and we welcome new members and supporters, fairus.org.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm looking forward to having you back because we have so much more
Please do.
to discuss.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. So, as did I. Have a great day.
You too.
You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. We'll be back in a few minutes.
I'm Ken McClinton, chairman of the Exceptional Conservative Network. Never has the cry for economic liberty been more resounding in urban America than on Election Day 2016. It's the economy! All real change begins with the American entrepreneur. Socialism did not work. Progressivism stole the wealth of individuals and families. You voted for something different. Real change. But what does real change look and sound like? It looks like Las Vegas, and it sounds like Freedom Fest 10. Freedom Fest, the world's largest gathering of free minds, is a popular, liberty-minded conference at the beautiful Paris Resort in Las Vegas from July 19th to the 22nd. Hear the voices of the urban freedom movement: Deneen Borelli, Larry Elder, Gina Lofton, Helen Rowley, Juan Pablo Agrande, and Zayad Abdelnour. Share ideas with powerful liberty movement figures like Steve Forbes, Jim Rogers, Anthony Scaramucci, Jennifer Grossman, Naomi Brockwell, Dinesh D'Souza, John Stossel, Lisa Kennedy, Peter Schiff, and our keynote speaker this year, William Shatner. Your money, your liberty, your freedom, your city. Come for the real and return with the change. Register now at freedomfest.com for $100 off the regular registration rate when you use the all caps code TECN. We'll see you there.
The best late night conservative talk show in America. That is Radio
Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Radio. Radio.
The best late night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservative.com.
Okay, we are back. You are listening to Money Talk with Melanie. This is your business diva, Melanie Collette, and we just finished talking to Dave Ray from the Federation of American Immigration Reform, and he was just fantastic. I hope you guys agree. And we need to have him back on the show because I didn't even get to like half of what I wanted to talk to him about. But he was just fantastic. Now it is time for the second installment of the 5 minutes of personal finance. And I did a little Facebook Live video earlier today before the show to let you know what it was going to be about. And what it's about is how to track your finances. A lot of times these days we have a ton of accounts that we're trying to keep track of, whether it's credit cards, if we use our debit cards for all of our spending, which, I do just because I like to track my spending. You might want to use a personal finance management app to keep track of your finances. And there's a ton of free ones out there. There's one called Mint.com that I use. I've been using actually for years. There's another one. I'm actually literally looking on my phone because I actually can't remember the name of it right now. Here we go. I have Mint.com, and there's another one by Dave Ramsey that's excellent that helps you do budgeting called EveryDollar.com. Now that one does cost money. It helps you budget. I think it's $99 a year. But Mint.com is completely free. It's called Mint. And it's by Intuit, the Intuit. And what it does is, and one of the reasons why I like Mint is because you put all of your information in. Now I will say that the setup is a smidge labor intensive. It is. But it's well worth it. And the reason why I say that is because it literally keeps track of everything you do. It allows you to set up a budget, and at the end, and it'll send you an email when I call it violating. It'll send you an email when you violated your budget. If you set up, one of the first things that I did when I got it was to download to hook my credit cards and my debit card up to the account. And what it does is it electronically downloads all your transactions. Now, it will automatically assign categories, but you can change them. Like, it'll assume categories. For example, if you are, shopping at the Limited, then it will assume that it's a clothing store, and it'll automatically categorize it as clothing. But if you go through and you notice that, it's the wrong category, you can switch categories, and it'll give you a pie chart, tell you how much, you spent in different categories. You can have it automatically set a budget based on that. You can adjust the budget, and it's eye-opening, especially if you are really not paying attention to your spending. I mean, one month I almost fell off the chair. Just not recent, but a couple of I've had Mint for a good while now, and for years now. I would say, oh gosh, 6-7 years now. But one month, I spent an embarrassing amount of money on clothes. I'm just gonna say, I'm a diva. Okay, so I'm a diva. And some months, I'm a little extra with the clothes. Okay, so this one month, I looked at my clothing that I had spent, and I was like, surely they're mistaken. I did not spend that much money on clothes this month. That cannot possibly be. Yeah, it was. I went back and looked at the transactions, and yeah, I was a little extra on. It was just ridiculous. So but seriously, if you want to really, and it also will track like your net worth. So for example, you can put in there, like what your car is worth, what your house is worth. It will also track your retirement account. And that's another eye-opening figure. Like when your net worth is in the negative, that's a problem. Your net worth should not be in the negative is all I'm saying. That's an issue. So I highly recommend mint.com. It's free. Like I said, the only thing it costs you is your time and your labor, but it is when you want to get your financial act together, it really is a helpful app. What else? Oh, the other thing that it does is it gives you alerts. You can set alerts as to when a bill is due. It'll tell you, it gives you, I'm actually looking at my account right now. It gives you the amount of cash that you have on hand. It also gives you the amount of debt that you're in. It will offer you suggestions, which is advertising, of course, but you have in there what your interest rates are on your credit cards. If they see that there is another credit card that you might qualify for based on your credit score, because it does have that ability as well, based on your credit score, it will bring that offer up to you, so to speak, and it'll show that offer. Now, you can always say no thanks, but it will offer you recommendations. It offers you tax advice. It offers you and it will show you, like by way of pie charts and columns and things like that, how you're doing that month. It shows you how much cash you have. It shows you how much debt you're in. It will show you, it'll give you a breakdown based on the year. It'll give you a breakdown based on the month. So, and it'll give you suggestions as to things that you need to be looking at, like life insurance and things like that. So it really, I highly recommend mint.com. And no, they are not paying me at all. I'm not getting a check from mint.com. But I thought that I would absolutely just recommend an app, because it just is very helpful, very useful to have all of your information in one place. At least I find it to be helpful, and to like, for example, if you buy clothes, like I used that example earlier, if you buy some clothes on your debit card at one store and then you buy clothes on a credit card at another store, you're not necessarily keeping track of that. If you're anything like me, you're not necessarily. You should be, but come on, let's keep it real. You're probably not. And you don't realize at the end of the month that you have spent a ridiculous amount of money where you didn't mean to, or Starbucks, God forbid, on something as silly as coffee. That's another reason, why I try, take out cash. Track where that came from. And the thing about an app like mint.com is you have it on your phone. You can very quickly update it if you need to, but for the most part, it does it automatically. The only thing I would recommend is not to let it go too long. So, I would check it at least once a week, so that, just in case it does put something in the wrong category, you don't have to remember what category that was in. Because if you shop at a place like Walmart where you can get groceries and pajamas in the same place, you want to make sure that you can split that up. If you go to get cash out of the ATM and you spent half of that money on entertainment, you want to be able to split that up. And that's another thing that's very flexible about the personal finance app. So the 5-minute personal finance tip of the day is track your money carefully. Find out where your money is going. Very important in budgeting. I highly recommend mint.com. Like I said, it's free, and it really does help you keep track of all of your finances. That's my 5-minute personal finance tip to you today. If you have any questions about that, you can certainly email me at moneytalkwithmelanie@gmail.com or tweet me at moneytalkmel or hit me up on my Facebook page at Money Talk with Melanie. We will be back in a few minutes.
Chicana Ranch is involved in helping youth through the snags along the pathway to adulthood. The last 8 years have created greater challenges. Having a president to parade perversion to our youth has generated the need for us to ramp up our character learning 100-fold. Today's youth are confused, and our goal is to give them a fresh understanding of creation, moral clarity, respect for authority. In short, restore absolutes and boundaries. Boys are born boys and girls are born girls, God's design. Right is right even when no one else is doing it. The Exceptional Conservative Network is underway to raise $10,000 to help advance this mission. Together, let's reverse the confusion aimed at our youth. Don't be a spectator. Go to our donation portal and make your financial contribution now. Your gift goes toward helping youth get clarity. Moral clarity. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for listening to Money Talk with Melanie today. If you are interested in donating to Chicana Ranch, a very, very important organization to the Exceptional Conservative Network, please do so by going to theexceptionalconservativeshow.com and clicking on the donate button. Very important organization to us here at the Exceptional Conservative Network. On Friday on Money Talk with Melanie, we will have the last guest in our 3-part series of Politichicks. We're going to have Sonia Sasser on. She is an author and a co-author to Politichicks. And like I said, the last in the 3-part series. So we're looking forward to having her on. And we will have yet another installment of 5 minutes of personal finance. So we're certainly looking forward to that. I want to thank everyone for listening today. And I want everyone to remember that this is all very important because it is your money.